people have been conditioned to be fearful of an enemy, and they're always thinking that it's the government that'll save them from this enemy. If it's climate change, the climate's going to ruin us, or if it's the virus that's going to ruin us, or if it's terrorists that are going to ruin us. This is, so people have just always been conditioned to fear something, and this is no different, mate.
Athletes have been dropping left, right, and center. So, like, what chances do these kids have? That's where I'm at. That's where I'm asking.
What we should be asking is this. You're spot on, because if we are seeing hundreds all over the world, hundreds of thousands of adults having adverse reactions, and then we're also seeing thousands of adults dying, the dosage that they're going to give children doesn't change. The vaccine is, the jab is still the jab. So that's what's concerning. So are the children getting the same dosage as the adults are getting that have suffered these adverse reactions or even died? That is what the most alarming thing is, because obviously their immune systems aren't as strong as an adult's. Their bodies aren't as strong as an adult's. So how is it going to affect them? This is what is really alarming. And like you said, mate, we saw today, we've heard of our first death, and then we're going to hear a lot of information. Oh, he or she had underlying health conditions. It was a reaction because of something else, and it wasn't related to that, and they'll spin it any way they like.
And here's the scary part, right? When I had Robert Malone on, he took his Moderna shot ages ago, like at the start of the pandemic, and he explained what he did. The Moderna that they've brought in that is apparently for these kids, they're actually twice as strong as Pfizer.
Yeah. There you go. Just proves my point. Like they're not even equating the dosage for the children. So someone, like, let's take me. I'm 44 years old. I weigh 110 kilos. Okay, I go and I get a shot or 2 shots, or now it's 3 shots. Okay, that same dosage they've given a 44-year-old male that weighs 110 kilos, that same dosage, if not double now in the Moderna, is going to be given to a child that is, say, 5 years old, male or female, weighs probably 25, 30 kilos, and they're going to receive the same dosage, if not more. How aren't people seeing this, brother? How are people not seeing this? I don't get it. And mate, it's really hard. As a parent, I'm a father now of 2. It's just I just can't believe it. And seeing parents brag about it on social media like it's a badge of honor. I'm now taking my children to get their first shot, and they've got all big smiles, and they're wearing their masks, and they're showing their Band-Aid on their arm. Honestly, it's child abuse. No other word for it.
Do you think they just don't know? Like, what do you think from their end and their side? What is it is it just the psychosis? Like they can't see it. They don't know it's an experiment. Like what from your point of view, what do you think is going through these parents' heads when their children have been fine for 2 years? They've been fine coming into this Omicron variant. And now suddenly when the government says snap of a finger, all right, go get your children jabbed, they just run and do it. Let me just inject right here real quick. Now, before we get to Mac's answer, I just want to say this show is brought to you by loanoptions.ai. Loanoptions.ai. Go to loanoptions.ai/58, FIVE, the number 8. Whatever loan that you need, these guys will help you. They're Australian-based, Sydney-based actually, and they're a great team. Loanoptions.ai/58. 8. Put in your details, say how much you want, and that because they already do business with these lenders, they don't just pawn you off and say, look, this is what you can get from this guy, this is what you can get from this guy. No, you select which one you want, and they'll help you throughout the process of acquiring that loan. For me, look to start a business. Look to develop yourself and back yourself. Now let's get back to Mack's answer. Loanoptions.ai. Like what is in their minds? What's their points of view?
I think what's happening here is, first of all, you're going to get parents that went and got their jabs, and they may have got it for different reasons. They believed it will keep them safe, or they needed to for their job, that have now drawn the line at children. So you've got, I think, a good collection of parents that have said, right, no way, enough is enough. And that's fantastic. But we've still got a large proportion of parents that have succumbed to the last 2 years of brainwashing, and that's all it is. We have been conditioned slowly. It started 2 years ago, where we heard about this virus, and then they started talking about the jabs and how to keep safe, and they the press conferences and the 6 o'clock news and how many people have died every day for 2 years. This just conditions people to then just wait there like lapdogs for their orders from the government. And what's happened is people have become self-regulating now. They're auto-regulating. As soon as the government snaps its fingers, people will just jump and do whatever the government says. This is a process that has taken a long time. 2 years, the last 2 years, it was really ramped up. But let's be honest, it's probably something that I believe started 20 years ago. We've gone through a period in society, especially in Australia, where we've gone through a period where people once upon a time, they struggled. And if they wanted something, they had to work for it. They had to save. It wasn't easy to come by a loan. Whereas we've been made to believe that life should be really comfortable. We don't really have to work for something. If we want it, we can have it now. We can have it instantly. People are in debt. Now, when you have people in so much debt with credit card, personal loans, mortgages, car finances, and they're used to this life of luxury, and all they know they have to do is just work Monday to Saturday, both parents send the kids to school, and they can continue to have this life. They don't want it disrupted, and they're scared that if they don't do what the government tells them to do, they're going to lose this. And I believe this is where the government has people by the throat, because people are in debt, extreme amounts of debt. And people are just now, they don't know, they're fearful for losing their jobs. They're fearful for losing their homes. So they just feel if we keep complying and doing what the government tells us, we'll be okay. That's where I believe we've headed. And I think it started over 20 years ago. It's people are just too comfortable, and people don't want that disrupted.
And I want to get into Reclaim and how you started the movement, and this weekend as well. 20 years ago is quite a specific date. Like, what do you think is the starting point that you see was the catalyst to this?
I think for Australia specifically, it was probably the turn of the century around the Olympics, the time we got the Olympics and we wanted to be on the world stage. We wanted to be an international city. Things did start to change. But perhaps more specifically, I'd probably pinpoint it to September 11, where we saw that something that we had never seen before, of my generation had never seen before. And it was so, depending on what your view is on it, some people have different theories on it. I've got my view on it. I think that was really the turning point. And that's when, and you hear them say it. You hear them say, this is post-September 11 or pre-September 11 world, post-September 11, the new world order. It all stemmed around that period there. And then, that is when we started to really have the invisible threats. We had the the threat of terrorism. I'm not saying terrorism isn't real. It did happen. We had the threat of the climate changing. First it was global warming, then it was climate change. We've had other threats, other viruses come along. We've had the Zika virus, swine flu. We've had Ebola. We've had MERS, and now we've had COVID. So people have been conditioned to be fearful of an enemy, and they're always thinking that it's the government that'll save them from this enemy. If it's climate change, the climate's going to ruin us, or if it's the virus that's going to ruin us, or if it's terrorists that are going to ruin us. This is, so people have just always been conditioned to fear something, and this is no different, mate.
And getting a little into your background, let's discuss that a little bit. So, do you want to break down how you started Reclaim the Line and how it's grown to the amazing movement that it is? Last time we covered it, there was a load of people there even before. Now it's Australia wide, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And look, I have to give credit. I'm a co-founder of Reclaim the Line. Reclaim the Line. Look, I'll take you back. My background prior to all of this, I was involved in weightlifting. I was a weightlifting, strength and conditioning coach and a boxing coach. And that was it. 5 years ago, I became a teacher, and that was short-lived because then the government mandated that all teachers needed to get a jab. I said, no way. Mind you, I became a science teacher, biology teacher. So, studied viruses and jabs. And I just said, no way. So, look, I just started putting out videos. I called them the halftime speech. I had no platform. I had no intention to be the face of anything. I had no intention to be famous or whatever. I don't even, or be a leader. I had no social media. I just put out these videos on WhatsApp groups, and look, they just took off. And it was prior to October the 1st, pretty much half the country was in lockdowns, and a group of frontline workers, there was some teachers, there was some nurses, some fireys, some cops that were all on the same wavelength. And we just thought we needed to do something. So we organised what was called Reclaim the Line. We called it a strike, October the 1st. We knew it was dangerous because literally you weren't allowed to protest, especially in Sydney after July 24th. But we thought, you know what, we're going to run with it. And we had the theme, everyone just wear white. We called it Reclaim the Line. And look, we had locations all over the country. They were secret locations until the day because of the climate that it was. You weren't allowed to protest. And now, 5 months later, here we are. Yeah, we've got rallies all over the country now. And, collectively, we get tens of thousands of people showing up. But I think Australia was ready. Australia was ready for serious protesting. They had an appetite for it. So, look, if it wasn't us, it would have been someone else. And I always give credit to the people before us, the freedom fighters, if we call them that, before us. There was Worldwide Rally for Freedom was going, Millions March was going. I used to follow Australians versus the Agenda, and so many other channels. So I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. And I always have to give credit as well, mate, to, mums and dads that have been in this for years, that have been fighting for their children, and, people like yourself too. Anyone that does anything, if it's organise rallies or have podcasts or have Facebook and Instagram pages, whatever it is, everyone's trying to fight this at their level. They're doing a great job. And look, mate, we know, the politics come into it here and there, but I don't get involved. I just try and stay above board because the cause is bigger than any one personality. The cause is bigger than our egos. The cause is bigger than all of us. Like I said, I just think of my children. I think of, my grandchildren one day. And that's what's important to me. But, mate, can I just tell you what my moment of truth really was? I'll tell you what my moment of truth really was. And you may remember this, brother. About a year and a half ago, outside New South Wales State Parliament House, there was a mother, and she had I think her son was about 6 years old. I was sitting at home. I think it was a Sunday. I was sitting at home, relaxing, watching TV. life was good. I was comfortable. I had a job. And I saw a footage of a mother with a 6-year-old outside New South Wales Parliament House. She was walking up and down outside Parliament House, not bothering anyone. She had a sign on her, which was obviously a protest sign of some sort. And she was surrounded by about 6 cops, and they dragged her son away from her arms, screaming and crying, the poor child. They dragged her away, threw her in the back of a police van, and arrested her and took her away and took her son away. And it was really horrible to watch. And that was my moment of truth, because I thought, here is a mother outside Parliament House fighting for our rights. This was during lockdowns. You weren't even allowed to protest. And there she was, this brave woman. And here I was sitting at home thinking, well, nothing really affects me now. Kept my mouth shut. But when I saw that, mate, that was it. That was it. I couldn't hold back any longer. I thought, nah, what kind of a man would I be if I didn't speak up? And that was my moment of truth. And I always ask everyone, what is your moment of truth? What's your moment of truth? There's got to be a moment of truth for each and every one of us.
I couldn't agree. Yeah, that was hard to watch as well. And the guy in Boral who owned an organic shop, and police smashed his head into the van. Just an old bloke, just a business owner really for his community, hasn't done anything wrong. And yeah, there's been some like tough moments, man. Even July 24th, I'm seeing still the repercussions of that. I got, they, plastered me across Channel 9 saying that I was the alleged organizer for that. Yeah. And I agree with you. Anyone that's, putting their foot forward, putting their face forward, putting their name forward, fighting for, people's rights, even if the other people don't agree with them, they definitely deserve a lot of credit. And you got one coming up this Saturday, the 15th, yeah?
That's right. Yeah, mate, yeah. So Saturday's a big one. Saturday 15th.
For that one, is it Alfred Park at 11 a.m. and then going to Hyde Park?
That's
that right?
it, yeah. For those, brother, for those in Sydney, it's we're starting at Prince Alfred Park at 11 a.m. We're going to meet there, and then we're marching to Hyde Park. So the stage and everything will be set up at Hyde Park. So basically, for those that attended the last Sydney one, we're just doing it in reverse. So where we ended up at the last one, we're starting there. It's Prince Alfred Park. It's not far from Central Station, and we're marching up. We're marching into the city. We're reclaiming the city. We'll march into Hyde Park. That's where everything will be set up. We've got some speakers. And we encourage everyone to come along. We always encourage people to wear white. That's just our theme. But bring your flags, bring your banners, bring your signs, bring family. And this is really aimed at giving the kids a voice, because, what started today was just something I never thought I'd see in this country, to be honest. And we know that, kids have a schedule of jabs, from when they're born. But this one was completely unnecessary. And look, I ask any doctor, and as you've had, doctors on your show, even when I spoke to Dr. Peter McCullough, the one thing he asks is it safe? Is it effective? And is it necessary? And when you can't answer those, and when the answer is no, why the hell are we giving it to children? Now, if you're an adult, you should know enough now to make your own mind up. But my God, why give it to children? That just astounds me.
Yeah, me too, man. It really, it's a sad point, really, because they don't need it. Like they don't need it at all. What's the bill like? You get the speakers on. You had it was like amazing speakers last time. Who's on this time around?
So we've got this time around. So we've got Primod coming. We've got Dean Gladstone from Bondi Rescue. We've got Evelyn Ray. I've got Fighting Father Dave as well. We've also got Gay Cameron. She's the political candidate for Cook. Now, the reason why we asked her to come along is because she's a big advocate for what we're doing, but also she's running against ScoMo in his seat of Cook. So we want her to come along and speak to the audience. And look, and then we're going to have just some mums and dads speaking. We're not We don't want people to be famous or influencers or anyone else, But if you say to me, look, Mac, I'd love to get up and say a few words, you're welcome. I'll be emceeing the event. But this is for the people. This is the people. We want the people to speak. We want the people to have voices. The people love when they start chanting. It kind of makes them feel empowered. It feels like they're not isolated. And I want to make the point is that people say, well, what are these protests doing? Nothing's changing. They're useless. I hear that all the time, and I disagree, because you think how many people have united, how many people have come out, how many people have built their tribes. So many people now are feeling more empowered to stand up and speak up. And they know that they can come to these protests and they're not isolated. Once upon a time, if you went to a protest, you were considered like a nut job or a conspiracy theorist or a tinfoil hat-wearing loony, whereas, or an anti-whatever. It's no longer like that. These are just ordinary Australians coming out, uniting, being together. And I ask people, well, the politicians may not change. We're not going to change their mind. But what we are doing is we're making them very nervous and we're pushing back. And we've changed. I've changed. I never would have attended a protest, but my mindset has changed. And that's what we expect when everyone turns up, that they change. They learn something about themselves. So it's not just about protesting so the politicians change their mind. That ain't going to happen. But, mate, I'll tell you what, if we hadn't done what we've done in the last 5 months, and even going back to July 24th, politicians, they take notice of that and they realise the people aren't happy. They get nervous and we resist. We've put up one hell of a fight. And I reckon if we didn't do what we've done since July 24th, this agenda would have ramped up a lot quicker. But we've held them at bay and we've got to keep coming.
And I spoke to Michael Sims just the other day, and I put that same sentiment forward regarding people coming. They make groups, they feel heard. Some people. I know people that have been taken out of their family will over this. It's outrageous. Like, parents will say you can't come over unless you've been jabbed, because they feel one of their family members will die. And these protests allow people to, meet with each other, as you said, create their own unique little tribes, meet people that are like-minded. And it's massive for mental health. For mental health, for me, these hold up not only on the political end, but on the connectivity end as well. Regarding Michael Sims, they're having one on the 15th as well. And what do you think about regarding that one? What's happening over in Canberra on the 15th?
Yeah, and it's funny you mention it, because last night we all hopped on a Zoom with Michael Sims and a few other people, and they were encouraging, they were just looking for ways and initiatives and what can be done. I've always encouraged, if anyone has any initiative, and I don't mean that, like anyone has any kind of initiative.
I don't mean that in a negative sense. Just to address it so we can let the people know ahead of time, because it seems like when there's these mixed protests and then people say you're not supporting this group, you're not supporting that group. Like you said, you spoke to them on a Zoom yesterday. So just to address it in that sense, I'm not bringing it up from a negative point of view either. No, for sure, brother, for sure. The way I see things is everyone's going to resonate with different things, and people are going to feel more comfortable in doing one thing over another. What they've got going, what they've created, it's fantastic. And I encourage people, if they feel a calling to that, they should attend that. My sentiments said, look, we're 6 days out from Reclaim the Line. We've organised 22 locations around the country. A lot of people have gone into a big effort in organising speakers and stage and sound and police permits, to pull the rug from them, to get everyone down to Canberra. It's probably going to be very difficult to do.
and it could actually damage the movement. But we've got a location in Canberra, which we're actually going to be encouraging for them to head there as well. So make that part of the procession. And realistically, some people probably can't, for whatever their family circumstances, can't get to Canberra. But we will show them our support from where we are and all over the place. And I believe that we need to attack this from so many different angles. So we need what's happening in Canberra. We need Reclaim the Line. We need so many attacks. That's how wars are won. They're not just won on one front in an open field. They're fought everywhere. And I believe we are in a spiritual war. And this is how we're going to do it. So, look, I encourage them, and I've supported everything, mate. Yesterday in Sydney, in Hyde Park, I went to a protest. I was asked to go. I went, and it wasn't anything big. There was no influencers there, so to speak. It was just there was probably maybe 500-600 people, maybe a little bit more. But I don't care. I'll attend. I'll go. I don't need the big stage and anything like that. I'll support all causes, big and small, and that's just my philosophy on it.
Yeah, I saw Craig Kelly did a speech yesterday as well. Because I'm not a massive political person, you know what I mean? I don't fully understand politics to the extent a lot of others do, and it's amazing. Everyone, like you said, everyone plays their role. Where are you leaning with the politics of this country?
Mate, look, I'm like you. Look, prior to all of this, up to 2019, I used to vote Liberal. I didn't like them. I didn't like any of them, but I voted Liberal. To be honest, now I would not vote for any of the major parties ever. Labor, Liberal, Greens. I always looked at myself as perhaps a conservative, as just centred, family man, kept to myself. Now, I don't really believe any political party is going to come and save us. And look, if Craig Kelly can and Clive Palmer and their party, if they can get out there and make a change and make things happen, great. I'll support them. No issues at all. If it's someone else, it might be Rod Culleton's Gap Party or whatever. I'm all for it. If they're on the side of the people, then by all means. But I truly believe deep down inside, it's going to take the actual Australian, the individual, not to rely on other people or political parties to save them. They've got to save themselves. We've got to get back to building communities, being in touch with our communities. This country needs to do a lot of healing because there's a massive divide at the moment. And it started in the last 2 years when the government was asking us to dob on our neighbours. And then it started telling us, well, if you're not jabbed, you can't, associate with these people and so on. So there's a lot of healing that needs to be done. And I don't think any of our leaders or any of the political parties are going to do that. Sure, some political parties are perhaps on our side. So look, at the moment, UAP, great. Yeah, they seem to be on our side. One Nation, they seem to be on our side. Ricardo Bossi, A1, they seem to be on our side. Now, they may have had policies years ago which I didn't agree with, which I didn't like. But now they're on our, they're fighting for the Australian people. I'll give them a chance. But as soon as they burn us, well, we got to vote them out. Look, and I'll be honest, mate. I've met Craig Kelly at the rallies. I've been on podcasts with him. I'm not going to judge him. I've got no issues with him. I really don't. I very rarely judge anyone or criticise anyone. I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And he was criticised because of the way he held his hands at a rally, and Clive Palmer's shoes. Mate, I get called a Freemason all the time. There's a photo of me with my grandfather at his local lodge, dressed in a tuxedo. So I'm part of the Illuminati now, apparently. But I don't care. I've got nothing to hide. But I just think, people are always going to look for something to divide everyone. Mate, we've just got to just know who the real enemy is, guys. The real enemy is in front of us. It's not beside us. It's in front of us.
It's funny you say that. I put a post on the Telegram because we're looking at different ways to present the show and get people, more included and for them to ask a question. And one of them was that ask you if you're a Freemason.
Yeah, but no, I'm not. I get that on all the podcasts.
Why does it come up? They've put even a lodge number for you, and they've got 2284 lodge number. Ask him if he's a Freemason and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Can you just dead this so this can be just over and done with?
Yeah, mate, I do it all the time. So that was my so that was my grandfather's lodge. So look, one thing people got to understand in Australia, especially after the war, Freemasonry was massive. Everyone's grandfather or great-grandfather or even father had joined their local lodge. So every suburb had a lodge. Once a month, men would get together. They would, they would tell stories. They'd have a dinner. They'd organise some charities. And my grandfather was a part of his local one, which is, they have a number, 284. And, they go through like recitals and things like that. And so then my grandfather passed away about 4 years ago. And before he died, he was sick. He asked me to accompany him and help him attend and drive him there, which I did. It was around the corner. It was in an old hall. So, mate, and that was it. And then, I would take him. They'd have a meal. And then they took, it's one photo, basically. They took one photo. And, my grandfather's there. They put it on their Facebook page. So it can't be too secretive if they've got a Facebook page. And that was it. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. And obviously when you go, you've got to put your name down. And that's what that number relates to. That's their number of their lodge. It's a local lodge in Sydney's inner west. And mate, that was it. Then 4 years later, this photo popped up right on the day of the very first Reclaim the Line. And it's been trolling ever since. But I think people have this misconception. They think, you're part of a secret society, or you're controlled opposition, or you're part of the Illuminati. And it's like, look, guys, I'm sure your father or grandfather or someone will know someone that was part of their local lodge. It's like a Lions Club or a Rotary Club. And look, Matt, I agree. At the highest level, who knows what the hell is going on up there, but at the highest level of every institution, the Vatican, the banking industry, I'm sure at the highest level, mate, there's some weird and shady stuff that, you don't want to be a part of. But mate, that's pretty much, I wish there was more to it. I wish there was more of a story and I knew about, conspiracy theories, but that's it.
Yeah, it's annoying when I see it a lot. And what I've realized is that overseas they have this as well, where everyone gets called this control opposition thing. It's like the whole term shield, the whole grabbing things that are very old and trying to make something out of it to discredit people. It's what I don't understand is it doesn't really benefit anyone. If someone's out there and you're doing something on the front line, you're putting these major events on that take a lot of time, take a lot of effort, grabbing all of those stages, like stage setup, getting the speakers itself, organizing all of that it's a lot of work. And I don't understand an end goal of grabbing a lot of historic things and bringing it to the forefront. Like for me, they grabbed I went on a podcast with this guy called Hillbilly, right? And so this guy contacts me, come on a podcast. I'm like, yeah, of course, I'll come on a podcast. And then suddenly there's I shouldn't have been on that podcast. It's like, well, what do you like? You know what I mean? It doesn't. I don't know the end goal. And do you see people bringing all of this old stuff up and then to the front, like outside of yourself? Do you see it across the board with other people as well?
Yeah, they do. And I think people do it because for a number of reasons. Number one, they're scared. Number two, they don't know who to trust anymore. Mate, number three, people like to blame someone. People always want someone to blame. And the thing is, when you blame someone, you disempower yourself. And why I always say to people, stop blaming everyone else. Start pointing the finger back at you and saying, well, what can I do? Rather than pointing the finger at someone and saying, he's a Freemason, or he's an extreme right wing, whatever, or, he shouldn't have gone on that podcast. But I could say the same thing to every single trial that attacks me. I could say the same thing to them about walking into a Catholic church. Did you attend a Catholic school? Did you attend a Catholic church? Do you go to church? Does that make you an associate of all the pedophile priests that have been caught and arrested, and even the ones that haven't? Does that make you a pedophile? Does that make you a satanic worshiper? Because, who knows what happens at the highest level of the Vatican? No, it doesn't. Now, we've heard of institutional corruption even in the banks. When you go to your local branch, just because you go to your local Commonwealth Bank, and we know that there's been institutional corruption at the Commonwealth Bank at the highest level, does that make you complicit in it? No, it's a stretch. So, and this is what I try and say to people, just stop. Because the more you do this, you're actually disempowering yourself. You're not doing the movement any favors. The government loves this. They love this division. And if it wasn't the Freemasons, it would have been something else. Mate, 10 years ago, I was on a reality TV show.
What?
Yeah.
You're on a reality TV show?
Yeah, I was on Channel 9. Yeah, I was on a it's called Excess. Yeah, it was in 2012. It was called Excess Baggage, and it was like Celebrity Biggest Loser. It was Channel 9's version. I was the trainer, and Kate Sobrano was the host. So for and there was celebrities like Dippo was on there, and AJ Rochester, and a few others. Yeah. Mate, and it only lasted one season. I think Scooby-Doo rated better than us. But anyway, it was a flop.
Scooby-Doo's pretty good. Hey, Scooby-Doo's pretty good.
Yeah, so it was a flop. But, and I was on reality TV. I had a bit of I was on some magazine covers as well, back when I was younger and fitter. And, mate, I asked myself, why aren't they trolling me on that? Because there's plenty of better photos out there than that one. Come and troll me on that, please. At least I had 15 minutes of D-grade fame. And there's some good shots of me when I was on the cover of Men's Health and that. Troll me on that, but they don't. But if the Freemason stuff didn't exist, they would have come out with something else. I don't know. But it's, mate, just a time waster. It's just a time waster.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think people need to find better ways to spend their time to support rather than tear things down. That's 100%. Are you still on diets and that? How's your diet going?
Look, man,
my last podcast, I was discussing a lot about diet, but it sounds like it was just a left wing, left out of the blue question. But yeah.
No, mate. Look, when I was in full training and wherever I'm at, I weighed about 100 kilos, and I didn't really diet as such. I just was very mindful. I ate everything. I was just very mindful of what I ate. I trained. I wasn't fanatical because I believe that, we've still got to live. Now I'm about 110 kilos, so a little bit heavier. Haven't been able to train as much. But in saying that, when this whole thing started, when I got into it last year in August, I was 123 kilos. So just naturally by default, by being in this movement, I've lost about 13 kilos. Just because, stress, not eating as much. But what I do now, mate, is I've really changed my mindset when it comes to food and eating, because I've been in a lot of third world countries and I've seen a lot of kids starving. And there's kids that die every day through starvation. There's families that can't even afford to eat. And I used to think, be picky with food and be fussy and, I'm not going to eat carbs and all this. But when there are people out there just wishing that they could just eat anything. And I thought, no, I'm not going to be one of these people that puts so much emphasis on what they eat when there are people out there that can't even put food on the table. So that's my mindset now more than anything. So if all there is to eat is a bag of chips, mate, I'll eat it. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to eat that because I'm going to put on weight or anything like that. That's how I look at life now.
You got me feeling bad by doing carnivore diet here, mate. Like,
no, you can. It's World Carnivore Month, so you can. It's okay.
There we go. There we go. Mac, I just want to finish with some questions that was put forward when I put it on the Telegram group, what some people wanted to ask you. So I'll just grab one here. How could doctors live with fake medicine based on fear and mandates and abandon real medicine, which is based on informed consent? That was a question for you.
Mate, doctors have been, for years now, doctors have been bought out. They've sold out. And anyone that says, when doctors come out and say, oh, we don't get any kickbacks or we don't get any commission from the pharmaceutical companies, well, they don't need to. They're already bought out. Doctors just want to protect their registration. Mate, they are a cash cow. You go into any suburb of Australia, you walk into any doctor's surgery, any medical centre, any GP, they are just packed. People just put out their Medicare card, 15-minute consultations, they get $70, whatever they get. It's just a cash cow. You honestly think they're going to jeopardise that? They're being told exactly what to do, what to charge. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good doctors out there that have actually given up their registration because they don't agree with what's going on. But, mate, a lot of them are just, they've just been bought out. And, you know, we know that doctors were getting extra for handing out the jab. So when they charge for Medicare for a consultation, when someone came in to get a jab, doctors were getting like an extra $20 on top of their normal consultation per dose. So I think on top of their normal consultation, for the 2 doses, it worked out to be an extra $53 or something. So, mate, you know, they're not going to want to let that go. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't realise. Doctors were told by AHPRA and Medicare that if someone came to their surgery or to their practice and wanted to get the jab, and then they had second thoughts and they needed to think about it a little bit more, that doctor could have charged and put it through as a jab consultation. So they would have got that extra that extra fee. Now, if that person then comes back 1 or 2 weeks later and then says, right, thanks, doc, I'm ready now to get the first jab, bang, doctor puts it through again. Let's say in a month's time they come for their second jab, and again, they're having second thoughts, I'm a little bit sick, and the doctor talks to them about it. He can put that through as if he's administered the jab. Now, let's say that person comes back a week later, yeah, I'm no longer feeling anxious, thank you, I'm ready, bang, puts it through. But it's a cash cow. It's happening. So, you know, it's money for nothing. They've sold out.
And it's sick that they have, and we've got doctors and GPs actually admit this as well. Another question that I have here for you: is there a possibility of a general strike in a state to force the government to retreat? Do you believe there's ever a possibility that this would happen? This is something Ricardo Bossi called for, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. That's what we need. We need a nationwide strike. You know, and it may just start with a state strike, but that is what we need. I'll tell you now, brother, all it'll take is 1 week. 1 week for everyone to say no. Don't go to work. Don't open up your shops. Truck drivers have to just stop supplying the supermarkets. People just got to stop complying. Don't wear the masks. Don't check in. All it takes is 1 week where everyone just stops, goes on strike. Not construction, not essential workers, nothing. Just stop. This will all be over. This will all be over. The problem is, and I said this before, too many Australians are very comfortable with the life the government has laid out for them. You've only got people like us. On our side, it's probably only about, 20-30% the population. I know that's a lot, but still, a lot of people don't want to rock the boat.
I think would we collapse if that happens? How would that work?
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah, mate. In a week's time, you think about it, the supply chain of food and fuel, if you cut that off for 1 week, there'd be a major collapse, and people just didn't go to work. You couldn't get through, like call centers, for example. Supermarkets weren't open. But mate, there's too much money. Like, you think about it, the businesses that were allowed to remain open during lockdown, do you honestly think they would close? Bunnings, Harvey Norman, Chemist Warehouse, Coles, Woolies, all the big guns, all the ones that spend big money on political donations and TV advertising. Do you honestly think they would do that? They're happy to go with the government agenda because they always get a get out of jail card. They always get a free pass. The media, the government gave the media a tax benefit over the last 12 months because of COVID. So what do you think the media's going to do?
They got all their money back.
That's right. That's right.
And the last one here that I have for you, mate, and before I let you go, is, let's pick one that's relevant to our time right now. Food shortages. There you go. Someone asked your thoughts on food shortages. Now, my understanding is that we're having a shortage of drivers. We're not having a shortage of food. What's your understanding on your end?
Yeah, 100% agree. Look, we don't have a food shortage. We've got a supply chain disruption. So shortage of drivers, that's probably where the food shortages are coming from. There's been a bit of panic buying as well. Look, again, I'm not a fan of stocking up and hoarding food because I just believe if I'm doing that, someone else is going without, and it's usually the poor old pensioner that can't get to the supermarket in time to get the food. So we don't stock up. We just do our normal shop. And if there's food there that we want, we'll buy it. If there isn't, we'll look for something else. And we just don't believe my family and I, we don't believe in stocking up. Mate, look, I don't know. People have different faiths, but I've always just felt that God will provide. So that's the way we see it.
Yeah, because I went to local markets seem to have food at hand. I went to my local grocers and there was plenty of food there. And then when you go to Woolworths or Coles, that's when you see some shelves being empty. And yeah, I don't really support people going out and spending all of their money on food and then, maybe they don't eat it. It goes to waste. I feel it's a bit of a distraction, and I do agree with you. I do think it's a supply chain issue for sure, and I think go along. What will unite us? Have you thought about that? Because lately I've been thinking to that they got 2 jabs just to keep their jobs, but they're seeing that there's booster. They don't really want it, and a lot of people are that way. And to me, I don't think it's a great idea just to shun these people off and ridicule them or laugh at them for caving in the first instance. I think that's handing it to what the bigger plan is. How can we, or have you had any thoughts about unity and how we can come together?
Yeah, look, it's a good point. I'm not a fan of calling people sheep, and I've probably done it. I'm guilty of it. I've probably said it in one of my halftime speeches. I probably should think about it a bit more and maybe not judge people like that and call them sheep. And because you're right, there are a lot of people that were forced to take it to keep their jobs. I know mums, single mums with 3 kids that literally were paying rent. So they had no choice. So who am I to judge them or call them sheep? And like I said, I've probably done it, and I apologise, and I shouldn't do it. We need everyone on side. We need everyone on side. And I believe there's probably a 30% of the population that we're never going to have on our side. But I still think there's this large majority in the middle that are in two minds, or they had to get it. We've got to extend our hand out to them. We've got to tell them, look, we're not here to judge you. You may discriminate against us, or you have to do what you had to do, but that's okay. We're not here to judge you. We're here to just support you and, welcome them with open arms. We should probably look at changing our language, and how we talk about these people, because, who are we to judge on their decisions? Different story if they just come and throw it in our faces and try and brainwash us, and then you've got every right to stand up for yourself and tell them to back off and call them whatever you like, as long as you're not being racist or inciting any violence. But the country does need a lot of healing. And it's not just based around the jab. It's based around the fact that we had neighbours that have been neighbours for years dobbing on each other. We had, like you said, people have been left out of their family will. It's going to take a lot of courage, and it's going to take the bigger person to just rise above that and say, right, I've got to put all of that behind me. And like I said, extend a hand of friendship out to these other people.
Yeah, well put, and completely agree with that. Have you been hit with censorship at all?
Mate, look, I probably have. Again, I'm only recently in the last couple of months, I got on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. So all I ever really was on was Telegram. And no, there was no censorship on Telegram, but on Instagram, I'm probably shadow banned. I know people can't tag me, or I can't tag people, something like that. So that tells me that, they've flagged me. Mate, I've had the police at my door a couple of times. This was, in the early days for, organising the rallies. But that's probably it. Mate, look, I don't create division. I don't incite any violence. I've never incited any racism or anything like that. I don't swear. You'll never hear me swear in one of my speeches. I always just try and keep everything above board. And, if I get censored, well, I get censored.
Why'd you choose to stay off Facebook, particularly?
Look, I didn't want it on my phone, for starters. They just seem to know everything about you. And I just thought, what's the point? Like, everyone you speak to is just getting barred off Facebook, or they're in Facebook jail. And even on Instagram, it won't be long probably till they really just shut me down. But I thought I'll give it a go. But all I really do is just put everything out on Telegram, because that's where it seems to be the safest.
Yeah, I'm banned on Facebook they've got me, get this, they said you may have used our systems in a way that is considered unusual. They said you may post again in 17,426 days, which was like 47 years. I'm like, righto, 47 years. Mack, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, man. And thank you. I want to actually thank you for what you do. It's a lot of work, mate. And I remember being on a Zoom chat with you a little while ago with Lermpa. Uncle Max was on there as well, Romeo, a few of the guys. It was amazing. You've been putting your neck out there, man, and in a big way. So I commend you for the successes in bringing people together, and the continued work that you do. So yeah, amazing on that. Just let the people know where they can find you. And I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thanks, brother. And yeah, look, thanks to you too, mate. Like I said, you've been there from the start, and you've been in this before me. So thank you. But look, if anyone wants to find us, look on Telegram. All you've got to do is type in "Reclaim the Line" or "Halftime Speech." You'll find us. Same on Instagram. If you type in "Reclaim the Line" or "Halftime Speech," you'll find us. But yeah, that's it.
Brother, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we do it in studio. We're going to go back to in studio this year if we're not completely locked down. These have been fun, but I really prefer face-to-face interviews. So hopefully we can do this face-to-face in future. That'll be amazing.
Would love to. Thanks, brother.